Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dojo Captain XR, and today we're going to dive into the long and tangled history of sanctions on Iran. For over 40 years, these measures have shaped Iran's economy, its politics, and its role on the global stage. From a dramatic hostage crisis to fears of nuclear weapons, sanctions have been a go-to tool for the US and others to pressure Iran. So how did it all start, and how did we get to where we're at right now in 2025? Let's unpack this story, figure out what's been going on, and ask, do sanctions really work? Let's go all the way back to 1979 when Iran's Islamic Revolution changed everything. The US-backed Shah was overthrown and Ayatollah Khomeini took charge. Things got intense when Iranian students stormed the US embassy holding 52 American hostages for 444 days. The US responded hard. President Carter froze $12 billion in Iranian assets and banned their oil imports. This was the opening chapter of a decades-long economic standoff. By the 1980s, tensions grew as Iran fought Iraq and backed groups like Hezbollah. In 1984, the U.S. labeled Iran a state sponsor of terrorism, slapping on trade and aid restrictions. By 1987, President Reagan banned most Iranian imports. Iran felt the squeeze, but leaned on allies like China and the Soviet Union to keep things moving. Fast forward to the 1990s and a new worry popped up: Iran's nuclear program. The US suspected Iran was chasing a nuclear weapon, so they tightened the screws. In 1995, President Clinton banned all US trade and investment with Iran, hitting their oil and gas sectors. Then, in 1996, the Iran-Libya Sanctions Act targeted foreign companies investing in Iran's energy industry, trying to scare them off. The plot thickens in 2002 when Iran's secret nuclear facility in Natanz was exposed. The UN stepped in, and between 2005 and 2010, passed resolutions sanctioning Iran's nuclear and missile programs. Think asset freezes and arm bans. The US and EU kept the pressure on, targeting banks and energy. Iran was starting to feel the economic pain big time. By the early 2010s, sanctions went into overdrive. In 2011, the US and EU kicked Iran out of SWIFT, the global banking system, making it super hard for Iran to trade. In 2012, the EU banned Iranian oil imports and the US targeted Iran's central bank. Iran oil exports crashed from 2.5 million barrels a day to under a million. Inflation shot up to 40%, and the rial, Iran's currency, lost most of its value. Life got tough for everyday Iranians. Shortages of medicine and food hit hard, sparking debates about whether sanctions hurt more than they helped. But the pressure paid off, sort of. By 2013, Iran was ready to negotiate, leading to the 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program and in return got relief from some sanctions. The JCPOA was a big deal. Iran's oil exports bounced back and their economy started to recover. But in 2018, President Trump pulled the US out, calling the deal a disaster. He launched what he called maximum pressure, bringing back sanctions on Iran's oil, banks, and shipping. He even labeled Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist group and targeted their central bank. Iran's economy took a nosedive. Oil exports dropped to around 200,000 barrels a day by 2020. Inflation hit 41%, and the rial was barely worth anything. Iran pushed back, ramping up uranium enrichment closer to weapons-grade levels. Tensions spiked with the U.S. killing Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, in a 2020 drone strike. Things were getting pretty dicey. When President Biden took over in 2021, there was hope for reviving the JCPOA, but talks went nowhere. Iran kept advancing its nuclear program and supporting groups like Yemen's Houthis. The U.S. stayed tough though, sanctioning oil smuggling networks and cracking down after the 22 Masa Amini protests. EU and UK also piled on, upset about Iran supplying drones to Russia. In 2023, some UN sanctions on Iran's missiles expired, but the US didn't let up. In June 2025, they hit Iran's defense industry and secret banking networks that moved billions for oil trades. The UN's nuclear watchdog called out Iran for non-compliance, and US-Israeli strikes reportedly set back their nuclear program. Oil prices jumped 10% as fears grew that Iran might mess with the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil route. So, where are we at with Iran sanctions in 2025? They've hit Iran's economy hard and slowed its nuclear ambitions, but they haven't stopped Iran from enriching uranium or flexing its influence. China's buying their oil like it's no big deal, and Iran's gotten good at dodging sanctions with sneaky tactics. Meanwhile, regular Iranians are struggling with shortages and sky-high prices. Some argue sanctions just make Iran's leaders dig in, pushing them closer to Russia and China. Others say they're the only way to keep Iran in check without starting a war. With UN sanctions set to expire in October 2025, the world's got some big decisions to make. What do you think? Can sanctions solve this, or are they part of the problem? Let me know in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe for more stuff like this if you liked it, and thank you for watching.